Oh, good afternoon, everybody. My name, for those of you who don't know, is Damian Monticello, and in my day job, I am the Senior Manager of Hospitality Services for Guidewell. I am also proud to serve this year as your SHFM President. As everyone is still joining the session, I do want to go over a couple housekeeping notes. Please check to see that your name is displayed correctly. To change your name, you can click on the Participants tab in your toolbar and next, hover over your mouse over your name in the participant list on the right side of the Zoom window. Click on Rename and enter your name into the Zoom meeting. We want to hear from you in our open forum section of today's meeting. And since we are using the webinar version of Zoom, we will need to open your mic to allow you to have audio on the call. We will provide some more instructions on how we're going to do that later. But as always, throughout the whole town hall session, you can also ask your questions through the Q&A box. So with those couple notes out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. First off, town hall, what is it? Well, these town halls came directly out of feedback we received from you, our SHFM members, through some focus groups that were conducted earlier this year. These town halls will be conducted quarterly, and the format of them will be pretty similar for each one. There will be one or two overarching topics that we will bring up to discuss with the membership, along with an opportunity for you to ask questions during the open forum on those topics of the day or any other SHFM topics that might come to mind. For today, we have a few topics that we're bringing to the table. First of which, just a quick moment to remind everyone about our COVID relief membership. SHFM did put out this COVID-19 relief membership earlier this year as our way of giving back and supporting those affected by the pandemic in the food service and hospitality industry. So anyone who was displaced due to the effects of COVID, whether they are a part of our segment of the industry or not, was eligible to receive a complimentary SHFM membership, which is good through the end of this year. This membership gives them access to our fantastic content with sessions like our Conversations That Matter series, CIC, etc., as well as access to our network of industry professionals. I think that this was a great idea for us, and I thank the board for approving us to go forward with this initiative this year. Brand awareness is something we wanted to talk about today as well. As part of our new SHFM strategic plan, we are working to enhance our brand awareness, both internally within SHFM and externally to the industry. To accomplish this, we have created this year a brand awareness task force. This task force will create a brand awareness plan for the year, and we will repeat this process each year and adjusting our goals accordingly to the strategic plan. The 2021 task force chair is Raquel Weiss-Fusco with Elite Studio E. The task force has been divided into 3 subgroups, focusing on internal awareness, external awareness, and education. As the name of each of these groups implies, these are the 3 key areas where we're focusing our efforts for the brand awareness task force. The task force is currently developing a speakers bureau to compile a list of SHFM members who are available to speak at student education seminars and industry events to not only provide insight and education, but to also represent SHFM and the SHFM brand. The task force plans to do a call for speakers to help develop this list. So you will be receiving an email tomorrow and let us know if you are interested in serving SHFM in this capacity and representing our brand to provide needed content through your expertise to the rest of the food service industry. You can also let Tony Butler know if you are interested, and he will add you to that list. The branding awareness task force was kind of a personal goal of mine for this year. You heard me mention it back in December of last year when I gave my opening remarks. We have such a wealth of knowledge within our organization and the people that make up our organization. We need to do our part to make sure we are that trusted go-to resource when people need to know what is going on in workplace hospitality and on-site food service. And this Speakers Bureau is only the first step in us being able to accomplish that goal. The other topic I wanted to bring up today is our diversity initiative. I wouldn't know where to begin if it wasn't for the work of Victoria Vega and her work in putting the Diversity and Inclusion Council together during her year as president, which served us greatly last year during all of the events that took place in 2020. The overall purpose of the Diversity and Inclusion Council is to foster an environment that embraces diversity and inclusion at all levels in the markets and the communities we serve and where we live, with a goal to increase the diversity of membership, champion employment opportunities, highlight and encourage procurement opportunities for minority-owned businesses within the food service industry. The overarching objective is to bring awareness to diversity issues surrounding the workplace hospitality segment. The council looks to assist, support, and encourage our members to better understand the importance of diversity to our business and what it means to our society and industry as a whole. The SHFM Diversity and Inclusion Council this year is chaired by Sumi De Benedettis and Victoria Vega, and again has been broken into 3 subgroups. These groups include the community subgroup, which is led by Danny Pedersen and Ben Anderson. This group is responsible for supplier diversity, student outreach, and diversity and inclusion social strategy, which you have seen on our SHFM social media pages over the last 3 months as we've recognized various heritage months or other things going on in the diversity and inclusion world, such as Autism Awareness Month. The goal with the social strategy is to raise awareness of the diversity in our world and also in our membership. The second of the subgroups is our knowledge subgroup, which is led by Jessica Tanton and Z. Shamey. This group is responsible for the new council logo, the Conversations That Matter series, and helping SHFM ensure we have diverse content and presenters across our entire calendar of SHFM events. The People and Leadership subgroup, led by Bobby Capps, is responsible for helping SHFM define what diversity means to us in the short and long term. Additionally, this group will focus on creating an inclusive culture by cultivating diverse representation in our membership, leadership, and member engagement through resource groups and mentoring. I can't say enough for the work that the Diversity and Inclusion Council has done this year. The participation in this particular group has been overwhelming. I think we have, at last count, just over 50 members on the Diversity and Inclusion Council, and they're a very passionate group, and they've brought a lot of great ideas to the table. Before we transition to the open forum part of today's session, I would like to remind everyone about some upcoming SHFM events. These events include our first Conversations That Matter session, titled Neurodiversity, Let's Talk About It, which is Wednesday, June 23rd. And this is a virtual event, and I will be hosting that event. And I'm very proud to do so. As the parent of an autistic child, this topic is of great importance to me personally, and I think will be beneficial to everyone. So if you haven't signed up for that one yet, please go ahead and do so. Our second Conversations That Matter session, you can save the date for Wednesday, July 21st. This will again be a virtual event. The third Conversations That Matter session, you can save the date for Wednesday, August 18th. Once again, a virtual event. The topics for the second and third Conversations That Matter sessions will be coming shortly. I would also like to ask you to save the date for the SHFM Young Professionals Summit, Wednesday, September 22nd, and this will be an in-person event in New York City at Inside Park. Registration for the Young Professional Summit will open in July. Also, the SHFM National Conference, December 6th through December 8th at the Omni Amelia Island Resort in Amelia Island, Florida. As you've heard me say before, my hometown. I'm really looking forward to welcoming everybody and showing off what I like to call home. Also, watch for SHFM local events over the summer and fall. I've heard a few whispers that our first first in-person local event will be in August in Philadelphia. So watch your email for details on that session for sure. We will drop the link to the upcoming events page in the chat. And you can go ahead and take a look at that at your convenience and get some additional information on all of our upcoming events. Thank you, everybody, for indulging me on this extensive calendar, which only goes to show the value of your SHFM membership and the content that we're able to bring to you. With that, we want to hear from you. So we're going to open up the town hall for discussion, and we want your voice to be heard, literally. If you would like to speak or ask a question, please indicate that by using the raise hand feature, which is located in your toolbar. When it's your turn to join the discussion, you'll see a screen prompt that asks you to unmute. Please click that so you can unmute and join in the conversation. Once you're done speaking, we will mute that line again and move on to the next. As always, you can also ask your questions through the Q&A box if you prefer to go that route. With that, we will open up the forum.
And Damian, it looks like we have some folks submitting some questions in the Q&A box. So the first one is what is the time commitment for the Speakers Bureau?
Speakers Bureau time commitment will really depend on a couple of factors. What the speaking engagement is. If it were something where you were speaking to a college class, there would be some development in the beginning and then the actual presentation itself. Something for another industry association, the commitment might be a little longer with a couple practice rounds. If the question is geared more towards how long am I on the Speakers Bureau, when we do the call, we will do a call for speakers annually. Once you have submitted your name, we will keep your name in that form and list as long as you would like us to. If you comes a time where you're no longer able to commit to doing speaking engagements on behalf of SHFM, let us know and we can make that change. But as someone mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a Supreme Court appointment. So once you give us your name, I'm going to hold on to that for as long as you'll let me.
All right, excellent. The next question is, can more seasoned members attend the Young Professional Summit?
Yes, seasoned members can attend, but you can attend the reception. The actual program earlier in the day is geared specifically and exclusively for our young professional members.
All right, the next question is, when will National Conference registration open?
National Conference registration will open right after the Labor Day holiday, so early September. On that similar topic, I would encourage everybody, if you haven't done so already, to go out and start making those hotel reservations. We did put out information on being able to book your hotel room recently, and we'll add that again into the chat. I can tell you, people are really getting excited about us being able to meet together in person again. And at last look, we are currently, just in June, we've already reached about half of our allotted room block for the hotel. So I would love to see us sell the entire hotel out and take over the entire property and just have it be one big SHFM gathering when we're able to get together in December.
All right, the next question is, with the pandemic and everything that's going on, how is SHFM membership doing?
Actually, SHFM membership is doing well. We have, as of the end of May, we are standing at 687 members. That is down slightly from this same time last year. We're down about 6%. But on the positive side, we have seen 105 new members come into the ranks, and that does not include any of the complimentary COVID-19 memberships that I mentioned earlier. So that 105 new members is all organic growth. So that's definitely a positive sign for us.
Terrific. And I don't see anyone with their hand raised. So if anyone wants to ask a question, I've never known this group to be shy.
Well, can't say as I have either. So.
Well, Damian, I don't see any other additional questions, which is amazing to me. Anyone have anything they have been dying to ask about SHFM? Now's your chance.
Yeah.
And here comes some questions. Can you talk more about the structure of SHFM leadership?
SHFM leadership. So I'm trying to figure out how to best answer this to give the answer that it is that you're looking for. Tony, I might ask you to kind of lean in and help me out here a little bit on this. Or if we're talking about how leadership is comprised, or are we trying to understand how someone gets more involved? I guess maybe a
Well,
little more.
I'm not sure, but I can briefly tell a little bit about the membership structure, more of the structure, they say. So the structure is that there is a volunteer board of directors that has anywhere between 16 and 19 members. We are currently, every seat is full. We also have a young professional board advisor that sits on our board as well, which is another person, another seat on the board. The executive committee is comprised of 6 people, which includes the president-elect, the treasurer, the senior supplier, the immediate past president, and the foundation chair. And so that's the overall leadership of the association. And then, of course, we are broken up into committees. Our standing committees are, of course, our membership committee, as well as the diversity committee. And membership, just this last year, incorporated membership marketing into that committee. We, of course, also have our event committees, which include conference planning committee, the critical issues advisory board, or not board, advisory committee. And then, of course, we have our industry advisory board, which is currently working on some restructuring themselves, and that leadership was going to change a little bit. And I'm sure I've left something out, Damian.
Yeah, I think, when we're talking about some of the committees, so each of the committees, membership, marketing, diversity and inclusion council. We also have the new brand awareness task force that we talked about earlier, which has some subgroups within it as well. So there are multiple avenues for you to get involved and to be able to use a Rob Gordon term, lean in and get more out of your membership, and by that, us get more out of your membership, because SHFM is only as strong as the engagement of our members, and we definitely rely on each and every one of you to keep us thriving.
One thing that I missed talking about is our foundation. There is a foundation board that consists of 10 people and with a chair and an immediate past chair, as well as the additional board members. So I should mention that as well. And Damian, I've had a question surrounding our locals. We are in the process of starting a Pacific Northwest local, and someone on the call wanted just to let people know about that. If they have interest in serving on that particular group in the Pacific Northwest, we would love some volunteers.
Yes, absolutely. I believe you can reach out to Tony, obviously, if you're interested in that. And Nathan Phillips is involved in that as well. So those of you who know Nathan, he would be another great individual for you to reach out to if you're in the Pacific Northwest and looking to have more opportunities to be engaged in your own area.
Terrific. So we've got a question around brand awareness. Do we have KPIs that we will be able to share to track growth and success? If we do, how will that information be shared?
Great question. That's actually part of the initial work that's being done by the task force this year. Since this is year 1 of the brand awareness task force, a lot of the work is around establishing the brand awareness calendar and goals. So the group is working on setting up KPIs for each of those internal, external, and I'm sorry, now I'm even blanking on my own committee that I developed, but each of the 3 subgroups that we have, we're establishing those KPIs so we can monitor and know what success looks like. This is definitely not a rapid completion type event. Brand awareness is something that's going to be with us for a while, and those goals are going to continue to evolve.
Thank you. And this is one you're going to love, Damian. Has there ever been consideration of extending the presidency from 1 year to 2?
Starting next year, I think we talked about that. Tony, do you want to address that? Because that is really more around, SHFM's actual bylaws and structure. So
Sure. Right now, the way that this is set up, it is in our bylaws. It's prescribed. The terms of the officers as well as the board is prescribed by the bylaws. If we ever wanted to change that, we would have to do a bylaw change, which would need to be approved by the full membership. We generally do those bylaw change requests at the business meeting at the annual conference. But I don't know that I have any president who wanted to do more than 1 year, because it really is, and Damian can speak to this after sitting in the chair for about 6 months, that it is really a full-time job in addition to your day job.
it's super rewarding, though. Yeah, I do have to put that in there. It is a lot. It does take some time commitment and some balancing and juggling, but it's so fulfilling to be engaged and involved on this level. So I wouldn't have passed up the opportunity for it by any means.
Well, that's good to hear, right? So I have a follow-up question about our structure. Can you talk more about the relationship between FSA, which is the management company for SHFM? I don't always understand the relationship. What does the management company do versus what members and leaders do or control? And so I can speak to that. The management company serves as your staff. So we also serve as the physical headquarters for SHFM. We're located in Louisville, Kentucky. And so the leadership and the control of the association is always with the board of directors. So the board of directors sets the strategic plan and the strategic direction of the association. It is our role as your staff to execute that. We work with committees to plan conferences and to plan programming and to run the events like this. We do all of that all day long. We take care of your marketing. We take care of your website. We take care of the financials, make sure that that's all in order. And so that's really our role. We are really your staff.
And I'll just kind of add to that that relationship is definitely something that we rely on, since we are made up entirely of volunteers. The work that gets done within SHFM could not get done without the work that FSA does on our behalf.
The other thing that I would add is that, we are really kind of the historians of SHFM. Some people know this, but maybe not everyone. Philip Cook, who was the founder of FSA Management Group, helped to merge the two associations that formed SFM back in 40-something years ago. So we have been involved, with the exception of just a few years when we were served by another management company, really since the beginning of SHFM. So we really have a long history with you guys and have items from those early days. So we are really the history keepers as well. So here's another question. How many participants are in this webinar today?
Well, I know people have come on and dropped off. I know we do see 66 that are still with us right now. I do know we had 111 that registered for the session today. Not sure if everyone was able to get on and what our peak may have been during our time together, but it was definitely well received, and the registration levels were definitely higher than I was anticipating for a first type session. So definitely, I think worth us taking this time together today.
For sure. And, we were in the 70s in our highest point. And so we consider that a very good attendance. We always have some fall off with our virtual events. That's pretty typical. As many of you know, we do not charge our members for any of our virtual events. That's a decision that the board made early on in the pandemic when we really started ramping up these virtual events. And so That's something that I believe that we will continue into the future, because we do plan to continue virtual events as we move on. And Damian, I don't see any other
anything
questions.
else. Yeah, so we can give one last chance for anyone who wants to ask a question before we put. I think I saw a question just come into the chat. Tony, did I catch that right?
Well, I got a question via email, believe it or not. One of our supplier members would like us to talk a little bit more about sponsor benefits. And Damian, I don't know if you want to just talk about the bigger picture, and I can talk about more detail.
Actually, let's reverse that a little bit, Tony, and I'll let you go first about what really is included in our sponsor benefit package, and I can definitely add on to there from how I see that fits within SHFM and the industry as a whole.
Sure. We basically have two sponsorship programs that we run annually. We have our annual sponsorship program, which is available at various levels from diamond to silver. And through that annual program, you are, depending on the level that you are at, you are buying events basically throughout the year. So you will receive sponsor benefits for events throughout the calendar year. And so that would include the national conference, CIC, some foundation events, some of the locals, again, depending on the level that you sponsor at. So we recognize our sponsors, of course, on the website and from the podium and those sorts of things. Of course, for CIC and the national conference, you have the opportunity to have tabletops to connect directly with members. And then you also had the opportunity just to network with our members. And during the virtual days that we've been having, we've tried a number of things to provide additional benefits, including little mini videos on the things that you are able to provide and some things like that. So we have been able to, I think, provide a pretty high level of benefit even in the virtual world. The secondary sponsor programs, there are individual sponsor programs for each of our events, including the national conference and critical issues, our locals, the holiday party, foundation events, etc., that you can buy on an individual basis. And those, again, run from diamond to silver. And so you are able to buy at different levels and receive a whole bunch of different benefits depending on the level that you're at, including the opportunity to have product, which is important to many of our sponsors. And that happens at the gold level and above. And so there's a lot of opportunity just to connect with our members through the sponsorship program.
And as a client member, Tony, I would add to that the value for me of being able to interact with the sponsor companies for myself and my program here at GuideWell has been immeasurable. I mean, the number of new products, new services that we have brought in, and companies we've been able to work with when we've needed consulting services, design services. A large majority of what we do has come from connections that I've made through SHFM. And not to get into the details about specifically which programs and products we've used, but just I went through this not too long ago in an exercise in-house, and I was easily able to come up with at least 10, close to a dozen initiatives that we've enacted in my time serving in this role in GuideWell that were because of something I was exposed to through a sponsor at SHFM. So the value is definitely there from, at least I would say, in my opinion, from the client perspective, to be exposed to the products and services that you guys have to offer, because there's such a sea of communication that comes out with all the different media pieces and the magazines and everything else that we don't always pay attention to the ad that's on the page. But when I have that chance to speak with someone one-on-one and get to know, does that product or service resonate with our program and our program's mission, then we know what's a good fit. And those are the things that we move forward on.
Terrific. And Damian, I'm just circling back to the question in the chat. I am curious to hear an SHFM perspective of job creation in our industry post-COVID. Is a lag in food service hospitality job restoration or elimination / combined positions affecting current membership or the future direction of SHFM?
You know, for myself, I would have to answer that I don't see it right now affecting the membership. As we mentioned, you know, our membership is holding pretty consistent to where we were in 2020 before COVID really started. Out of the 105 new members that we mentioned, that was the organic growth that we've seen. Tony, I think you can confirm this. A majority of those have come just in the past couple months. So we're starting to see this return even within the pace of our membership roll. So I think the outlook for us, as long as SHFM continues to position itself as being of value to its members through whether it's programming content or the networking abilities for someone who is displaced and is looking for that next role, or for, as I was just talking about, with the relationships with our supplier and our sponsor members, for myself to be able to develop and implement something new within our program. As long as we continue down that line, we're only serving ourselves a benefit and can only help grow our importance and the value of being an SHFM member. So I'm, again, hats off to everyone who's been involved to this point this year in putting all these different ideas out there and all these programs together, because I've never seen this level of engagement in my 18 years being involved within SHFM, and the energy that it's generating within the industry, not just within SHFM, is definitely something that's getting noticed, and that is only going to serve us, you know, beneficially again in the future.
And Damian, I've got another more of a suggestion, I would say, in the Q&A box. It says it would be great to start hearing from new members that join ahead of the national conference. Can we do a new member spotlight beyond just name and company and add it to the newsletter?
You know, we do something similar for the young professionals. So I think being able to take a similar type stance with new members in general is definitely something we could take a look at, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for content for the newsletter, and you know, I think that's a nice addition. Damian, I do not see additional questions in the Q&A box. I don't see anyone raising their hand. What a shy group.
Actually, I did see one in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that.
Scrolling down, so I want to make sure we get everyone's questions answered, especially since we have some time left.
So the question that I see, I've seen mixed data on employees returning to work and the CFS/OCS coming back for corporate and university food service. What is SHFM seeing for food service returning, and what is the rate in the next 6 to 12 months? Asking for a food service supplier.
Well, we actually did, through partnership with the IAB, we did do a series of surveys this year, kind of gathering some information around this topic. And now I think might be a good time for us to follow up with that again, as we're starting to see movement back in the return to the office space. Speaking personally for my company and the other companies that I speak with my colleagues on a regular basis, the pace at which we're starting to prepare for this return has gotten exponentially faster. We are now looking at a July return for ourselves personally. And that seems to be consistent with what I'm hearing from my fellow client liaison members, is anywhere from July to September really being that tipping point when people are starting to bring folks back. It is going to look different than what it did before. For some of us, that's going to mean fewer people in the office than what we had before. Surprisingly enough, for a couple that I've spoken with, it's going to potentially mean more people in the office, just depending on what line of business they're in and how they feel they've navigated through the past year plus with having everybody work in such a remote fashion. One of the things I did see in a recent study that was looking at forecasts for 2022 for our segment of the industry, in general was for 2022, business and industry segment was forecasted at an over 20% growth versus 2019. So, and when you look at all the various segments, it was number one or number two in terms of the rate at which we're expecting to experience growth. So again, I think the future for on-site workplace hospitality is bright. It's going to be different, but it is still out there, and it's still something that we are all looking for as employers as a means of being able to engage our employees. So I encourage everyone to stay optimistic and to keep pushing.
Well, Damian, I do not see any additional questions in the chat or in the Q&A box or by hands being raised.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us virtually today. We did hold an hour for this session because we didn't know how long the open forum would go, how many questions people were gonna want to ask. So for future sessions, as we move into subsequent quarters, we will look at refining the time and expanding or contracting that where we need to based on what we think the level of interest is going to be. Finally, we look forward to the future town hall meetings, as I was just stating, and we hope that you found this session helpful and informative. There will be a brief survey as you exit today's call, so please be sure to complete it. And also tell us what topics you are interested in hearing more about in the future. So with that, everybody, thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your day.